Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about what is framework, why we need to go for frameworks, and what is the struts framework, what is the hibernate framework, what is the spring framework, and what are the modules available in the spring framework, and what is the purpose of each module we are trying to understand. So as of now, we discussed about what is framework. Can you tell me what is a framework? Framework is a semi-developed software. Okay, framework is a semi-developed software which will provide some common logics to develop the application. Right now, what are the advantages of going with the framework? Advantages with the framework: we can focus only on the business logic. Framework will provide common logics. We can focus only on the business logic development. We can do more work in the less time by using frameworks, right? And we have several types of framework. There is a framework called struts framework is available. Who provided struts? What is the purpose of struts framework? Struts framework provided by Apache organization that is used to develop only web layer in the application. What is the meaning of web layer in the application? Web layer contains only controllers to handle the request and response. Then after, we discussed about Hibernate framework. What is Hibernate framework? That is used to develop persistence layer in the application. Hibernate is used to develop persistence layer in the application that is under license of Red Hat organization now. So if you want to develop a project, we need to go with the struts framework as well as Hibernate framework, because our application will have layered architecture. Multiple layers will be available in our application. So at that time, there was no framework which supports all the layers in the project. For web layer, we need to go for struts. For persistence layer, we need to go for Hibernate. At that time, Spring framework came into picture. What is the Spring? What is the benefit with the Spring? What is the Spring? What is the benefit with the Spring? Spring is application development framework. Spring is called as application development framework. What is the meaning of application development framework? It supports everything required for the application development. We can develop all the layers in the application by using Spring framework. That's why Spring is called as application development framework. Then after, we started understanding Spring architecture. So Spring is a single framework, or Spring is collection of frameworks? Spring is not a single framework. Spring is collection of frameworks. That means in the Spring framework, there are several modules available. So there are several modules available in the Spring framework. What are the modules available? Can you tell me the modules of the Spring, guys? Can you tell me the modules of the Spring? First one is Spring Core module. Then next one, we are having Spring Context module. Spring Core is available. Spring Context is available. Spring AOP module is available. Spring JDBC, which is also called as DAO. And we are having Spring ORM module. And we are having Spring Data module. Then we are having Spring WebMVC module is available. Spring REST module is available. Spring WebMVC available. Spring REST is available. Then Spring Security is available. Spring Batch is available. Spring Batch available. Spring Cloud available. Spring Batch available. Spring Cloud. Like this, there are several modules available in the Spring. 20 plus modules available in the Spring framework. Now, so is it mandatory to use all the modules in the project? No. These modules are loosely coupled. These modules are independent and the modules are loosely coupled. What is the meaning of loosely coupled? What is the meaning of loosely coupled? You can use any module that is required for your project. You can use any module that is required for your project. It is not mandatory to use all the modules. It's not mandatory to use all the modules. Guys, shift to that side. Remove your bags. Give some space. Go to that corner, sir. Move to that corner. Those people also remove the bag, shift to that side. So those last people, shift to that side, give some space. Yeah, you can sit that side. All right. So there are several modules available in the Spring framework. Spring core module is available. Spring context, Spring AOP, Spring JDBC, Spring ORM, Spring data, Spring Web MVC, Spring REST, security, batch, cloud. Like that, there are several modules available in the Spring framework. Yesterday, we understood purpose of some modules, right? Now, as there are several modules available in the Spring, it's not mandatory to use all the modules. Spring framework is giving flexibility for the programmer. Spring framework is giving flexibility for the programmer. Suppose in your project, you want to develop only persistence layer. Only persistence layer you can develop by using Spring. Web layer you can develop by using servlet, by using struts also. Spring framework can be integrated with all the technologies available in the Java. Servlets can interact with the Spring. Struts can interact with the Spring. Hibernate can interact with the Spring. Spring is a loosely coupled framework. Spring framework can be integrated with any other framework available in the market. So it's not mandatory to develop all the layers by using Spring. If you want to develop only web layer in the project, only for web layer, you can use the Spring. If you want to develop only persistence layer, only for the persistence layer, you can use the Spring framework. Spring framework developed in modular fashion. Spring framework developed in modular fashion. Spring modules are loosely coupled. There are several modules available. You can use any module based on your project requirement. It's not mandatory to use all the modules also. Are you clear with my point? Right. What is the Spring? Spring is called as application development framework. Why it is called as application development framework? It is providing the support for end-to-end application development. All the layers of the application can be developed by using Spring framework. It is developed by using Java and it is free of cost. You no need to pay the money for the Spring license. And Spring is released in the 2004. The current version of the Spring is 6.x version, right? Coming to Spring modules. First module is core module. Sir, sit this side. First module is core module. What is core module in the Spring? What is core module in the Spring? Spring core is a base module. If you want to use any module in the Spring, first you need to understand the core module, that is base module in the Spring framework. That core module is providing the fundamental concepts of the Spring, the main powerful features in the Spring: IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring. These three concepts are from Spring core module. If you want to work with any module in the Spring, you need to understand these three concepts. What is IOC container? What is the dependency injection? What is auto wiring? If you know these three concepts, then you can work with any module in the Spring. All the Spring modules are developed based on these three concepts only. That is the reason those concepts are called as fundamental concepts of the Spring framework. Those fundamental concepts are given by core module. The next one, context module. What is the purpose of context module? It is responsible to manage configurations. In our project, multiple classes will be available. Which classes should be managed by the Spring? Which classes should not manage it by the Spring? We will represent by using configuration. That configurations will be taken care by Spring context module. And next one, Spring AOP. AOP stands for Aspect Oriented Programming. From tomorrow, I will not allow after 8 o'clock. People are coming at 8:30. It's not a movie theater. You need to come here by 8 o'clock tomorrow. And from next week, the class is from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. So you have to be here by 7:25. Otherwise, you can't attend the class. Got my point? So this week it is at 8 o'clock. From next week, class time will shift to 7:30 a.m. 7:30 a.m. to 9 o'clock. 1.5 hour class will be there. Got my point? Be on time. Good. So we are trying to understand AOP. AOP stands for Aspect Oriented Programming. What is the purpose of AOP? AOP is used to separate primary logics and secondary logics in the application. What is the meaning of primary logic? What is the meaning of primary logic? Business logic. Primary logic, nothing but business logic. Now, what is the meaning of secondary logic? Cross-cutting. Any logic which will help to our primary logic is called as secondary logic. Logging, transaction, security, auditing, exception handling, all these things comes under secondary logics in the project. If you combine primary logics and secondary logics, it will become very difficult to maintain, because if I combine both the primary logics and secondary logics, tomorrow if I change business logic, secondary logic may affect. If I change secondary logic, business logic may affect. If I want to make some changes to security, I need to change at so many places. To avoid that problem, we are going to separate primary logic and secondary logic with the help of Spring AOP module. AOP stands for Aspect Oriented Programming. Then after Spring JDBC. What is the purpose of Spring JDBC? That is used to develop persistence layer in the application. Spring JDBC used to develop persistence layer in the application. Already Java JDBC available. Then why should we go for Spring JDBC to develop the persistence layer? If you go for Java JDBC, lot of boilerplate code you have to write. You are responsible for everything in the project DAO layer. But if you go for Spring JDBC, common logics they will provide. You focus on the query execution. You focus only on the query execution. The remaining boilerplate code will be provided by Spring JDBC. Now, I don't want to go for Spring JDBC because Spring JDBC will represent the data in the text format. I need to iterate the result set. I need to convert the data to Java object every time. I don't want to do that. I want to deal with the object directly. I should be able to store my object into the database. I want to retrieve the data in the form of objects. I want to represent the data in the objects format. I have a product object. I no need to write insert into product values, ID, name, price. I don't want to deal with the text data. I want to deal with the object data. When I retrieve the records from the table, I will get the result set object. I don't want result set. I want the data in the object format. I want to represent every record as one object in the database. For that, we will go for ORM, Object Relational Mapping. JDBC will deal with the data in the form of text, whereas ORM will deal with the data in the form of objects. So if you want to develop persistence layer by representing data in the objects, you can go for a Hibernate. But Hibernate is a framework. They will provide some common logic. You need to write the business logic, but still some boilerplate code will be there in the Hibernate. To avoid that boilerplate code in the Hibernate, we are going for Spring ORM. When you go for Spring ORM, internally it will communicate with the Hibernate. Hibernate will communicate with the JDBC. JDBC will communicate with the database. Are you clear? But now, I am not interested to write the queries also. I don't want to write any common logic. I don't want to write the queries also. Is there any option? Yes, what is the option? Spring Data JPA. If you go for Spring Data JPA, you no need to do anything. Persistence layer will be taken care by Spring Data JPA. Just with one line of code, you can insert the record. You can update the record. You can delete. You can perform whatever the operation you want. So if you go for Hibernate, you can represent data in the objects format. If you go for Spring ORM, you take care of the queries. You take care of the queries. But if you go for Data JPA, queries also Data JPA will take care. You no need to write anything in the persistence layer when you go for Spring Data JPA. Spring, our application will communicate with the Data JPA. Data JPA will communicate with the ORM. ORM will communicate with the Hibernate. Hibernate will communicate with JDBC. Finally, JDBC will communicate with the database. Are you clear? Now, if you see this style, if you see this development, is there any problem? Is there any problem? Come on. Is there any problem? So which one is easy? Which one is easy to develop the project now? JDBC is easy, Spring JDBC, Hibernate, Spring ORM, Spring Data JPA. Which one is easy? Spring Data JPA is easy. Why Spring Data JPA is easy? Come on. Why Spring Data JPA is easy? We no need to write anything. You no need to write anything. As I have shown you in my GitHub repository, there are some projects available. Okay, let me go to my GitHub. So in my GitHub repository, there are some projects available. There is a project Spring REST H2 database application. If I go to this project, there will be a repository available. You see what is the code that I am writing inside that repository. Now, repository. Okay. What is the code I am writing in the repository, guys? How many lines of code available here? How many lines of code is available here? Only one line of code is available. That's it. This is my repository. It is equal to our DAO. It is equal to our DAO. With this single line of code, you can perform all card operations. Sir, where the queries available? I am not writing the queries. Who will write the queries? Data JPA will write the queries for our operations. You can insert, you can update, you can delete, you can retrieve the records in the form of objects. Everything will be represented in the form of object when you go for Spring Data JPA. When you go for Spring Data JPA, you no need to do anything. You no need to do anything. I will show you practical proof also. In the advanced Java, I have given one project as an assignment for you. Phone book application. I have deployed that in the AWS cloud. I have given the URL also. Are you able to access that? Actually, that project I developed by using Spring Boot with Data JPA. Within the class, within 15 minutes, I completed that project. The reason I did not develop by using Servlet and JDBC, I developed that project by using Spring Boot. Just to understand the functionality, I have given that project for you. So based on that requirement, you can do that by using JDBC, Servlets and JSP. Okay, good. Now, so here repository is available. In this, only one line of code we are writing. With this one line of code, we are able to perform all the CRUD operations. With this one line of code, we can perform all the CRUD operations. Now you see, I have my phone book application. This is the phone book application that we have deployed in the AWS cloud. Let me run it once. Run as Java application. Okay. This is my phone book application I have created by using Spring Boot. You can see this. It is a Spring Boot application. Now, let me run this application, run as Java application. When you go for Spring Boot, server also you no need to take care. Server also will be provided by Spring Boot. Run as a Java application. No server, nothing. Spring Boot application starting from the main method. When you start from the main method, internally, they will start the application by using Tomcat server. Now, let me go to my browser, localhost:8080. Localhost:8080. Let me access it. Can you see the application now? Now, let me enter my email ID. Let me enter some password. Click on login. What it is saying? Invalid credentials, right? Now go to our application here. Can you check? Can you check in the repository? Is there any logic available? Is there any logic available? To verify email ID and password correct or not. Am I writing any logic? It is a class or interface? Interface. I have a method. This method is a concrete method or this method is an abstract method? Abstract method. What about implementation? What about query to check my credentials are valid or not? Not required. Not required. Why not required? Data JPA. It is not required. Now, when I want to create a record. When I want to create a record in the database table, when you do the sign up, I want to create a record. So in order to create the record, I am having one user repository. User controller is available. When you go for user controller, what I am doing here? User repository dot save. So when you go for sign up functionality, let me sign up ashok@gmail.com, my password, my phone number. Click on submit. What happened? Registration successful. But is there any logic available to insert the record in the table? Is there any query available? No. Why? Because of JPA repository. I am calling save method. This save method is my method, or this is a JPA method? JPA method. What about the query to insert the record? Do I need to write the query to insert the record? Do I need to write the query to insert the record? Not required. Who will take care of that query? Data JPA. Now, let me show you here. I'm waiting for a property. I will show you Spring dot 1 minute. So here, you no need to write the queries, guys. When you go for data JPA, you no need to write the queries also. Then what about the queries? Who will take care of the queries? Who will take care of the queries? Queries will be taken care by data JPA. Queries will be taken care by data JPA. Database properties will configure outside. The queries execution, everything will be taken care by data JPA. I want to insert the record, or I want to update the record. 1 minute. Let me write a property. Show SQL. Show SQL in the Spring Boot. So I'm writing one property, show SQL as true. Now let me run my application, run as Java application. Run as the Java application. Just I want to show you the power of data JPA. So you may not be able to understand. Now can you see here? Who is creating the table? Am I creating the table, or data JPA creating the table? Data JPA creating the table. What it is using internally? Internally it is using Hibernate. Clear the console. Now let me go to my application. So phone book application is available. Sign in here. Now let me show you the database also. Localhost colon 8080 H2 console. I'm using H2 database here. H2 console. What are the properties I have added? Resources, properties file, testdb. My database name is testdb. URL, 1 minute. This is my database URL. Let me connect with this. Username and password. Click on connect. I connected to my database. User info. Run this query. Any record available in the table? Any record available in the table? No record available in the table. Now go to our application. Let us insert a record. Sign up. Now check our console. Nothing is available. Clear that. Now name, email ID, password, phone number. Click on submit. Registration successful. Go to database and verify. Run this. Record inserted or not? I'm able to sign up into my application. My record is inserted into the database. Go to the console. Can you see here? Can you see that? What is available there? Insert into user info. Is it my query, or it is the query prepared by data JPA? In my application, anywhere do I have that query to insert the record into table? No, I don't have the query to insert the record into table, but still my query is executed. My record is also inserted into the database table. So who is writing the queries? Who is writing the queries? Data JPA is writing the queries and it is executing the queries. Are you clear? Now we learned JDBC. Do you think that anybody will use the JDBC? Why? Why we don't go for JDBC? Why we don't go for JDBC? You need to write lot of code in the JDBC to perform the operations. Now, if you go for Spring Data JPA, there are many advantages are available. You no need to write the common logic. You no need to write the queries also. Everything will be taken care by Data JPA to perform the operations. In the class within 15 to 20 minutes, I'm able to complete the requirement. Okay, I can sign in here. I can sign in into my application and it will display the page like this to save the contact. Whatever the contact I will save, only that contact will be displayed here. Okay, my contact I'm able to save, it is displaying here. Now something like rani@gmail.com, some value, save it. The contacts are displaying. Click on logout and click on login again. So this is session based application. So welcome message is displaying. Which user is logged in, only his contacts will display. This application I developed by using Spring Boot with Data JPA. My development completed very quickly. Within the class, within 15 minutes, I completed the development because I no need to write the common logics. Common logics will be taken care by the Spring. Only I will write the business logic in the application. Are you guys getting my point? You see, queries are executing, retrieve the records, insert the record. All the queries are prepared by Data JPA. I'm not writing the queries in the persistence layer. Queries will be taken care by Data JPA. You just focus on business logic, what data you need to send to the JPA, what data you need to retrieve from the JPA, how you need to display the data in the presentation, how to design the presentation page. That part we are going to take care. Persistence layer will be taken care by Data JPA. Are you clear? Good. Now, if you use Data JPA in the application, is there any problem? My question is there any problem if I go for a Data JPA to develop the application? Problem is there or advantage is there? Advantage is there. What is that advantage? What is that advantage? What is the advantage, guys? Easily we can develop a persistent, but first of all, we no need to do anything in the persistence layer. Persistence layer will be taken care by Data JPA. But the problem is performance issue. What is the problem? Performance issue. Our application communicating with the Data JPA. My target is I want to communicate with the database, guys. I want to insert a record. I want to retrieve the record. If I go for JDBC, I need to write a lot of code, but directly my application will communicate with the JDBC. JDBC will communicate with the database. It is a direct connection. It is a direct connection. Queries will execute quickly when you go for this JDBC API. Performance wise, JDBC is the best option, but you will not have a luxury. You need to write a lot of code to perform the operations, but it will give best performance. Why? Because your queries will execute directly in the database. Your queries will execute directly in the database. Now, if you go for a Data JPA, what is the problem? If I execute Data JPA, what is the problem? Application will tell to JPA, JPA will tell to Hibernate, Hibernate will tell to JDBC, JDBC will tell to, simple example, I want to pass one message to that girl. I want to pass a message to that girl. If I tell directly hello, quickly it will complete. I will tell to first one, she will tell to second one, she will tell to third one, she will tell to fourth one. How much time it will take? Which one is fast? If I tell to that lady directly hello, directly she can listen to my message. Instead of telling to her directly, I will tell to first one will tell to second one will tell to third one will tell to the fourth one. My target is to send a message to the fourth person. So which is recommended? If I tell directly, immediately my message will reach to her. JDBC is like that. When you use JDBC, your queries will execute directly in the database. performance wise JDBC is better. Performance wise JDBC is better, but luxury is not available. You need to write each and everything on your own when you go for JDBC API. Okay. Now, sir, I don't want to write this much logic. I don't want to write this much logic. I want luxury. I want luxury. Quickly, my application development should be completed. I don't want to write so much code. I want luxury. I want benefits. Then go for data JPA. When you go for a data JPA, luxury will be available, but performance wise, you have to compromise. Performance wise, you have to compromise. Why we need to compromise on the performance? Why we need to compromise on the performance? Am I writing the query? Am I writing the query? No. I will tell to JPA to write the query. JPA should prepare the query. JPA should give that query to the Hibernate. Hibernate should give the query to JDBC. JDBC should execute that query. Okay. So there are so many mediators available. My message not reaching to her directly. My message reaching to her through some mediators. So when the message is going through mediators, it will take some time. It will take some time. So now tell me, JDBC recommended, data JPA recommended, JDBC recommended or data JPA recommended? It depends on the requirement. It depends on the requirement. For your project, if performance is very important, then go for JDBC. Performance is not a matter for us. I want luxury in the development. I want flexibility in the development. Then go for data JPA. In my project, microservices are available. So when you are developing the application, microservices will be available. I explained you in the initial class what is a microservice. What is a microservice? A small application. A small application is available. Now, so instead of developing everything in one project, we are going to develop some microservices like this. We are going to develop some microservices. For every functionality, a separate project will be available. Okay. Hotel booking, train booking, cab booking, product booking, cart application, payment application, cancellation, tracking, like that. So many applications will be available. Those are called as microservices. Now, in the project, we need to understand which microservices are customer-facing microservices. So, what is the meaning of customer-facing microservices? Customer-facing microservices nothing but the microservices which are directly accessible from UI application. Any microservice which is directly accessing from the UI application, that microservice is called as a customer-facing microservice. When our microservice is directly accessing by the customer, those microservices performance is very important. Those microservice performance is very important because customers will access our application. Application response should be faster. When the application response should be faster, go for JDBC because it will execute your query directly. Performance will be faster. Some microservices are available. They will be in the backend. Customer request will not go to these microservices. They will be in the backend. They will execute in the night time to perform some bulk operation. For such kind of microservices, performance is not important, luxury is important. Quickly I should be able to develop them. For that I can go for data JPA. When my microservice is getting direct request from the customer, then performance is important. At that time I will go for JDBC. If my microservice is not a direct customer facing microservice, performance is not important, then I will check for the luxury, then I will go for the data JPA. In my project, 150 microservices are available. I told you that. I'm working for credit card project. 150 microservices are available. 70 to 80 microservices we developed with JDBC. 70 to 80 microservices we developed with JDBC. Lot of code we have written. Why we have chosen JDBC? Why not data JPA? That is a banking application. So many requests will be coming. So many transactions will happen. Customer direct request is coming to the application. Performance is important. 70 to 80 microservices we implemented with the plain JDBC. Remaining microservices we implemented with the Spring Data JPA. So in my project, JDBC available, Data JPA also available. Both are important. It depends on the requirement when to use JDBC, when to use Data JPA. Are you getting my point? So what is the difference between JDBC and Data JPA? JDBC can interact with the database directly. It will give the best performance. It will give the best performance because my query will execute in the JDBC directly. My query will execute in the JDBC directly. But if I go for a Data JPA, lot of mediators are available. Application will talk to Data JPA. It should talk to ORM. It should talk to Hibernate. It should talk to JDBC. Then JDBC will talk to database. It will take some time to execute the query. Performance wise, JDBC is better. Flexibility wise, Data JPA is better. It depends on the requirement when to go for JDBC, when to go for Data JPA. Are you guys clear with my point? Good. Then after, we discussed about one more module that is called Spring WebMVC module. What is the purpose of Spring WebMVC module? Come on, guys. What is the purpose of Spring WebMVC module? If you want to develop a web application with the user interface, when you want to develop a web application with the user interface, then you can go for Spring WebMVC module. Okay, so what is the meaning of web application with the user interface? Just now I have shown you my application, which is localhost colon 8080. Okay, so now you see I have one phone book application which is having user interface also. This application I developed by using Spring WebMVC. You see here, is there any servlet available in my project? No. What is available? Controller is available. So is there any HTTP servlet? No. I am creating a controller. How I am creating this controller? I am creating this controller by using Spring Web. Get request is available. Post request is available. I created controllers by using Spring WebMVC. This is the method which is used to build the dashboard for the user. This is the method for the contact creation. When you create the contact, this method will execute, will save the contact. When you log in, this method will get all the contacts in the database, will display in the dashboard. Now if you see, I can add one contact, tcsgmail.com, TCS phone number, save it. When I click on save button, it is getting the contacts and it is displaying here. When I click on save button, saving the contact, getting the latest contacts. This is user interface. When you want to develop a application, a web application with a user interface, then you can go for WebMVC module. Are you getting my point? So what is the purpose of Spring WebMVC? What is the purpose of Spring WebMVC? Which is used to develop a web application. Which is used to develop a web application. Are you getting my point? Cool. Next one. Here, when you go for Spring WebMVC, we are going to develop C2B applications. It is used to develop C2B application, guys. What is the meaning of C2B applications? Customer to business. Customer to business. Customer to business. Now, here I have a phone book application. Can you communicate with my phone book application directly? Can you access my application directly? You can create your account. You can log in. You can save your contacts in my application. So this application is customer to business application. This is customer to business application. To develop such kind of customer to business applications, we are going to use Spring WebMVC module. We are going to use Spring WebMVC module. And the main benefit is it supports multiple presentation technologies. It's not mandatory to use only JSP for the presentation. When you go for servlet, what is our presentation technology? Only JSP. Only JSP. But currently JSP using in the market? No, JSP got outdated. That's why what this Spring Web MVC has done, it is supporting for multiple presentation technologies. If you want, you can go for JSP as a presentation technology. If you don't like the JSP, then you can go for TimeLeaf as a presentation technology. If you see this web application, I developed by using TimeLeaf. It is not a JSP, guys. This is a TimeLeaf. I developed this presentation logic by using TimeLeaf. So this whatever the presentation you can see, this presentation logic I developed by using TimeLeaf. I can develop the presentation by using TimeLeaf. So you have your option. If you want, you can go for JSP presentation. If you don't want, you can go for TimeLeaf as a presentation. Spring Web MVC supports for multiple presentation technologies. Spring Web MVC supports multiple presentation technologies. It is your choice. You can use JSP as a presentation. You can use TimeLeaf also as a presentation. Are you clear with my point? What is the Spring Web MVC? Come on. What is Spring Web MVC? Spring Web MVC is one module in the Spring framework. It is one module in the Spring framework. What we can do with that module? What we can do with that module? We can develop web applications with the user interface. You can develop C2B application. Your application can be accessed by the customer directly, C2B. What presentation logic it is supporting? It is supporting for multiple presentation technologies. You can use JSP for the presentation, or you can use TimeLeaf also as a presentation. And the next one, there is one module available. There is one module is available, which is called Spring REST module. There is a module called Spring REST module is available. What is the purpose of this Spring REST module? It is used to develop distributed applications. It is used to develop distributed applications. What is the meaning of distributed applications? B2B communication. Now, here our Google Pay application communicating with the SBI bank. When you do the transfer from the Google Pay, my balance available in the SBI account, I want to send the money to your account. You have account in the HDFC, I have account in the SBI. I'm sending the amount from my SBI account to your HDFC account by using Google Pay. Google Pay is one project from the Google. HDFC is a one banking application. SBI is one banking application. How we are able to transfer money from one application to another application, one account to another account? By using Google Pay. Google Pay is what kind of application? Distributed application. What is the meaning of distributed application? One application can communicate with the another application. If one application want to communicate with the another application, then we will go for REST API. What we are going to develop? REST API. What is the purpose of REST APIs? Distributed application. Tomorrow, my front-end application is separate. My back-end applications are separate. Back-end applications are called as REST APIs. Front-end Angular application will communicate with our back-end REST API. Back-end applications are called microservices. We will develop microservices by using this Spring REST module. Are you guys getting my point? What is the purpose of Spring REST? What is the purpose of Spring REST? It is used to develop distributed application. What is the meaning of distributed application? One application can communicate with another application. So that is called as B2B, business to business. One application can communicate with the another application. Our passport application will communicate with Aadhaar application. Okay. And the next one, our Make My Trip application will communicate with IRCTC application. Okay. Our Google Pay application will communicate with a bank application. Okay. These all are called as distributed applications. In order to develop such a kind of distributed applications, we are going to use Spring REST. Now, we are going to develop a full stack project. What is the meaning of full stack? Front-end project is separate, back-end project is separate. Front-end project developed by Angular, back-end project developed by Java. How Angular project can communicate with the Java project? Java project is a REST API. Java project is a REST API. Angular project can communicate with the Java REST API. React project can communicate with the Java REST API. In future, we are going to learn how to develop REST APIs by using Java. That is the main target of this course. Spring Boot microservices. So how to develop microservices? Microservices nothing but backend APIs. How to develop the backend APIs? By using Spring Boot. That is the agenda of the course. Are you guys getting my point? So what is the Spring REST? Where we will use the Spring REST? Where we will use the Spring REST? Come on. Spring REST is used to develop distributed application. What is the meaning of distributed application? One application can communicate with the another application. So backend applications are called as REST APIs only. Front-end application is Angular or React. Backend applications are REST API. Front-end application can access backend REST APIs. Are you clear with my point? Very good. Next one, there is a module called Spring Security module is available. What is the Spring Security? What is Spring Security? Come on. What is Spring Security? It is used to secure our applications. Spring Security module is used to secure our applications. So now I will prove that. How it is going to provide the security for our application. Guys, here I'm going to create one simple class which is demo REST controller. So forget about the coding part. What code I am writing, you will not understand today. Okay, just I want to show you how security is going to work in the Spring Boot. I'm going to create one REST controller. Inside this REST controller, I will write one message, get welcome message. Okay, simple. Return welcome to Ashok IT. I have written one simple message with a get request. I want to map this method to get request with a /welcome URL pattern. With this, my REST API is ready. What is the URL pattern? /welcome. Perfect. Let me run this application. Right click, run as Java application. Run as Java application. Okay. Now observe. I created one simple REST controller in my project. And I want to access that REST controller. Okay. Clear the console. Go to browser. Access that. Localhost :8080 /welcome. Am I able to access my method? Yes, I'm able to access my method. One simple REST controller I created. When I send a get request with the URL, I'm able to access my method. Now, I don't want people to access my method directly. I want to secure my method. I want to secure my application. When you access this URL, application should ask you to log in. So now, what we do is simple. We will go to this project. And we will add one simple dependency in the project. Spring Boot starter. There is a dependency called security. What is that, guys? Spring Boot starter. I just added the dependency. Am I writing any code? For that? I'm not writing any code. I'm just adding one dependency called security dependency. Now let us refresh our project. Let us do Maven update. Let me do the Maven update. Security dependency I have added in my project. Spring Boot starter security. Let us run this application. Go to Phonebook app, run as Java application. What is this? They generated a password for the application. Now go and access same URL now. When I access same URL, what is happening? When I access earlier, when I access that URL, what happened? When I access the URL, I got the response. Now when I access the URL, what is happening? They're asking username and password. Is it my login page? Is it my login page? Who provided this login page? Spring Security. If you no need to write the code for the security also. You no need to write the code for the security also. If you just add the dependency, they are providing the security for our application. Now, if you want to access our application, you need to log in first with your username and password. So here, password they have given by default. Okay, username will be user, password is generated, sign in. Now I am able to access. So just by adding a dependency, security is applicable for our application. That is called Spring Security. You no need to write the logic for the login. You no need to write the logic to check the credentials are valid or not. Everything will be provided by Spring Security. So if you want to secure your applications, then there is a concept called Spring Security is available. What we can do by using Spring Security? We can implement authentication. We can implement authorization. What is the meaning of authentication? Who can access our application? It will verify. What is the meaning of authorization? Who can access which functionality will be decided. So here, Spring Security is a framework which is used to implement authentication and authorization in our application. It is a framework to implement authentication and authorization in our application. So what is Spring Web MVC? Come on, guys. What is Spring Web MVC? It is used to develop web application with the MVC architecture. It supports for multiple presentation technology. You can use a JSP or you can use a Timeleaf as a presentation. Web MVC is used to support C2B, that means customer to business logic development. What is a Spring REST? What is Spring REST? Spring REST is used to develop distributed application. That means one application can communicate with the another application. These are B2B applications. B2B applications. Now, what is the Spring Security? It is used to secure our application. It will provide the logic for authentication, authorization. What is the meaning of authentication? It will decide who can access our application. What is authorization? It will decide who can access which functionality in our application. Are you clear with my point? And next one, there is a module called Spring Batch module is available. There is a module called Spring Batch. Batch means bulk operation. Batch means bulk. Batch operation means bulk operation. To implement bulk operations, we will use Spring Batch. To implement bulk operations, we will use Spring Batch. Can you tell me any example for bulk operation? Can you tell me any example for bulk operation? Come on. First one, sending bulk SMS. Sending bulk SMS to all students. I want to send one bulk SMS to all the students. Generate bank statement for all account holders. Generate the bank statement for all the account holders. Send credit card bill for all card holders. Every month credit card bill will be generated. Bill will come to your email. Okay, so every customer will get the bank statement to their mail ID. So now SBI Bank available, crores of customers. Every month they should generate the statement. They should send the statement to all the account holders. That is called bulk operation. In order to implement such kind of bulk operations in the project, we are going to use a module called Spring Batch module. Batch nothing but bulk operation. Batch nothing but bulk operation. So recently in the YouTube, I have uploaded one video how to implement bulk operation by using Spring Batch. If you see, I think last week only I have given that video. Yeah. Now, so here Spring Batch processing, how to perform batch processing by using Spring Boot. That means I have the data. I have the data in the CSV file. I have the data in the CSV file. Millions of records available in the CSV file. I want to read the data from the file. I want to store into database. So that is called bulk operation. In order to implement that bulk operation, we are having Spring Batch concept. We are having a Spring Batch concept. Spring Batch is used to implement bulk operation. That means I have the data in the CSV file. From the CSV file, I want to read the data. I want to store the data into database. These are the some examples for the batch. Send monthly salaries to all the employees in the company. So assume that TCS company 4 lakh employees are available. Every month they need to send the salary to 4 lakh employees to their bank account. That is a bulk operation. Okay, generate monthly pay slips for all the employees in the company. Generate monthly bank statement, monthly credit card statement, festival greetings, sending the notices to all the citizens. So this is called as a bulk operation. In order to implement such kind of bulk operation in the project, we are going to use a module called Spring Batch module. Are you clear? Next one. There is another module called Spring Cloud module. There is another module called Spring Cloud module. It is used to implement microservices. It is used to implement microservices. When we go for microservices development, there will be a concept called service registry, and there will be a concept called API gateway. There will be a concept called FIAN client, and there will be a concept called circuit breaker, etc. So some microservices topics are available. When you want to develop a project by using microservices architecture, then these components we are going to use. These components are provided by Spring Cloud module. If you want to develop your project with microservices architecture, then we are going to use Spring Cloud module. Are you clear? Now, so it's too early to understand, sir, what is a circuit breaker? What is a FIAN client? What is service registry? What is API gateway? It is not the right time to discuss about them. After 2 months of time, we are going to understand these concepts. These concepts are provided by Spring Cloud module. Like this, there are several modules available in the Spring framework. Now, are you able to understand purpose of all these modules now? Are you able to understand purpose of these modules now? Yes. Can you read the modules? Spring Core, Spring Context, Spring AOP, Spring JDBC, Spring ORM, Spring WebMVC, Spring Security, Spring Batch, Spring Cloud, Spring Data. What is the purpose of Spring Data? Data JPA. What is Spring Data? Data JPA. What is the purpose of Data JPA? What is the purpose of Data JPA? It is used to develop persistence layer. It is used to develop persistence layer. What is the advantage? What is the disadvantage? Data JPA having advantage as well as disadvantage also. What is the advantage? What is the disadvantage? Come on. Advantage is luxury. You no need to write the queries also. Disadvantage, performance issue. Then what is the Spring Cloud module? What is Spring Cloud module? It is used to develop microservices. It is used to develop microservices. Next one, Spring Batch module. What is the purpose of batch module? What is the meaning of batch module? It is used to develop batch operation. It is used to implement bulk operation. Can you tell me some examples for bulk operation? Sending the salaries to all the employees, sending the pay slips to all the employees, sending the account statement to all the employees, read the data from the file, store into database. These all are bulk operations, can be implemented by using batch module. What is Spring Security? What is Spring Security? It is used to secure our application with the authentication and authorization. What is the meaning of authentication? What is the meaning of authentication? To understand, it will decide who can access our application. What is authorization? It will decide who can access which functionality in the application. Clear? Next one. What is the Spring REST module? Here there is a Spring REST available, guys. What is the purpose of Spring REST module? What is the purpose of Spring REST module? Spring REST is used to develop distributed applications. What is the meaning of distributed application? What is the meaning of distributed application? One application can communicate with the another application, that is called REST module. By using the REST module, we are going to develop REST APIs. Backend APIs will be developed by using REST. REST is used to develop B2B application. Any example for B2B application? Google Pay, bank, passport, Aadhaar, IRCTC, make my trip. These all are distributed applications only. Then what is the Spring Web MVC? It is used to develop C2B application. What is the meaning of C2B application? Customer to business. So if you want to develop a application with the user interface, then you can go for Web MVC. It supports multiple presentation technologies. What are those presentation technologies? One is a JSP, another one is a Timeleaf. What is Spring ORM? What is Spring ORM? Come on, what is Spring ORM? It is also used to develop the persistence layer. Persistence layer. What is the benefit with the ORM? Objects. Data will be represented in the form of objects. Next one, Spring JDBC. To develop persistence layer, you take care of only query. The remaining part will be taken care by JDBC. But what is the problem with the Spring JDBC? Text data. Data will be represented in the form of text format. Next one, Spring AOP. What is the meaning of Spring AOP? AOP stands for Aspect Oriented Programming. AOP stands for Aspect Oriented Programming. What is the purpose of AOP? To separate primary logic and secondary logic. What is secondary logic? Transaction, security, auditing, logging, exception handling. These all are called as cross-cutting logics. Cross-cutting logics are called as secondary logic. It's not recommended to combine primary logic and cross-cutting logic. To separate them, we are going to use AOP module. What is the Spring Context module? It is used to manage configurations in the application. That means which classes should be managed by the Spring, which classes should not manage it by the Spring. We will define by using that context module. Then next one, Spring Core module. What is Spring Core module? Spring Core module is the base module for the Spring framework. What concepts are important from the core module? IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring. Those are called fundamental concepts of the Spring framework. Without IOC container, without a dependency injection, there is no Spring. Without IOC container, without a dependency injection, there is no Spring framework. Are you guys clear with my point? So what is the Spring now? What is Spring now? Spring is an application development framework. Why we are calling as application development framework? Spring can support for all the layers of development in the application. It is free of cost. It is developed by using Java. The Spring introduced in the 2004. The current version of the Spring is 6.x version. Now, what type of projects I can develop by using Spring, guys? What type of projects I can develop by using Spring? Come on. I can develop standalone project. I can develop web application. I can develop distributed application also. This Spring framework is developed based on JSE and JEE APIs. Java, core Java, advanced Java. On top of this core Java and advanced Java, Spring framework is developed. Can I say Spring is a replacement for the JEE? No. Spring is using JEE. Spring developed based on the JEE. Spring is not the replacement for the JEE. Spring is complementing the JEE. Okay. Spring is a Java based framework. That is Spring framework developed based on the Java JDBC, Java Servlet, Java JSP. Spring is not the replacement for the JEE. Spring is promoting the JEE. Are you clear? So Spring is not the replacement for the servlet. Without servlet, there is no Spring Web MVC. Without servlet, there is no Spring Web MVC. Without JDBC, there is no Spring Data JPA. So Spring is not replacement for the Java. Spring is a Java framework which will provide the luxury for the programmers to develop only business logic in the application. Common logic will be provided by the Spring. You focus only on the business logic development. Are you clear? Good. Any questions, anyone from offline? No questions? Understanding or not understanding? Okay. So with this, we are done with the Spring introduction part. From tomorrow, we are going to work with Spring core module. That is very, 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 very important. Here, there are so many modules available in the Spring. It's not mandatory to use all the modules. But if you want to use any module, you should know core module first. Because the Spring basic concepts are introduced in the core module. IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring concepts are available. From tomorrow, we are going to understand what is the Spring core. If you don't understand the Spring core, you can't understand any module. You can't understand the Spring boot also. So everything is based on next 3 months of course depends on the core module only. That core module is very, 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 very important. Are you able to follow this? Fine. Thank you guys. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow class at 8 o'clock. This week classes will be at 8 o'clock. From next Monday, class will be shifting to 7:30 a.m. 7:30 or 7? 7 o'clock. 7:30. Okay? 7:30. From next Monday, we'll make the class timing as 7:30 to 9. Fine. Thank you guys. Online students, anybody having any questions?